Have you ever sat in a place that used to feel like home, and suddenly it didn't anymore? Not because the walls changed, not because the world ended, but because the people who made it feel alive were no longer there. If you've ever felt that kind of silence, stay with me. This story is different, and somewhere inside it, you might find yourself. There is a place in Tanzania called Kijani Plains. It's not a place people travel to. It's a place people are born into, grow in, and often never leave. In that village lived a man named Tendai. Tendai was not the kind of man people gathered around for entertainment. He didn't talk much, didn't laugh loudly, didn't try to stand out. If anything, he blended into the background, but he had a quiet way of being present. He worked with his hands, fixing things, carrying loads, helping where needed. Nothing about his life looked special from the outside, but there was a time when his world felt full. His wife, Amara, brought warmth into their home without trying. She didn't need to say much either. The way she moved, the way she hummed while cooking, the way she sat beside him in the evenings, it was enough. They didn't have children, they didn't have wealth, but they had rhythm. A simple, steady life that made sense. Until one year, it stopped making sense. The rains came late that season. Crops struggled. The air felt dry, uneasy. And then Amara fell sick. It wasn't sudden. It was slow. The kind of sickness that makes you hope at first, and then slowly takes that hope away. Tendai tried everything he knew. Local remedies, long walks to find help, quiet prayers he barely knew how to form. But nothing changed. One night, and as the wind moved softly outside, Amara's breathing faded, and just like that, she was gone. There are moments in life that divide everything into before and after. That was Tendai's moment. After the burial, people came around. Voices filled the compound. Hands touched his shoulders. Words were spoken. But after a few days, it all disappeared. The footsteps stopped. The voices faded. The days became long and empty. Tendai didn't cry loudly. He didn't break down in front of anyone. He just became quiet. A different kind of quiet. He stopped sitting outside in the evenings, stopped going where people gathered. Even his work slowed down, not because he was lazy, but because nothing inside him was pushing him forward anymore. One night, sitting alone in the dark, he spoke out loud, not even sure why. God, if you are still there, why does it feel like you removed everything that mattered? No answer came, but the question stayed. Days turned into months, and something strange began to happen. Not outside, inside. Tendai started noticing things he had ignored before. The sound of the wind moving through dry grass. The way mornings arrived quietly before the sun appeared. The small struggles of people he passed without thinking. He didn't suddenly feel happy, but he started paying attention. One afternoon, while walking back from the fields, he saw a boy struggling to lift a heavy container of water. Tendai paused. For a moment, he almost kept walking. Then he turned back, lifted the container without saying a word, and carried it to the boy's home. No conversation, no thank you, just action. And then he left. A few days later, he fixed a broken fence for an old man who couldn't do it himself. Another day, he helped patch a leaking roof before the rain returned. He didn't announce any of it. He didn't plan to become helpful. It just started happening, not because he felt strong, but because doing nothing felt heavier. Years passed. People began to notice him again, but differently this time. Not as a man who had everything together, but as someone who showed up quietly without needing recognition. Tendai never spoke about his loss, but somehow people felt understood around him. Then one season, everything shifted again. Tendai fell ill. This time, his body refused to cooperate. He couldn't walk far, couldn't work, couldn't even cook for himself. And as he lay there staring at the same ceiling day after day, an old fear returned, and the same question, in a different form. Now what? The first day, no one came. The second day, someone knocked. It was the boy whose water he once carried, now older, standing awkwardly at the door with food in his hands. The next day, another person came. Then another. And then more. Within a week, the house that had been silent for years was no longer quiet. People filled the space. Someone swept his compound. Someone repaired his door. Someone stayed just to sit with him. No announcements were made. No plans were organized. It just happened. Tendai watched it all, confused. He hadn't asked for help. He hadn't even expected it. One evening, as he sat propped against the wall, he said softly, "I thought I was alone all these years." An old man sitting nearby shook his head. "You weren't alone. You were planting things you couldn't see." That night, for the first time in a long time, Tendai didn't feel empty. Not because everything was fixed, but because something finally made sense. When he recovered, he didn't go back to the life he had before, because he understood now. That season of losing, that silence, that loneliness, it wasn't the end of his life. It was the beginning of a different kind of purpose. Years later, when Tendai passed peacefully, people came from across Kijani Plains, not because they were told to, but because in one way or another their lives had been touched by a man who once thought he had nothing left to give. So hear this carefully. Sometimes life removes the noise, not to punish you, but to reveal something deeper. Sometimes the people you lose are not replaced in the same way, but what grows in their absence can reach further than you ever imagined. Loneliness can feel like an ending, but sometimes it's just the space where something new begins. If you are in that space right now, don't rush to fill it. Don't assume it means something is wrong with you. You may not see it yet, but something is being built in you. Quietly, patiently. Something that one day will reach people in ways you never expected.